date. So let's go ahead and proceed. We need to do our roll call. So please, let's see. I'll call out the names and we'll just go down the list. So Mike Preston,
Here.
I see you.
Here.
Welcome. Roseanne.
Here.
All right, thank you. Jackie, we just heard from you. Thank you. Daryl, I see you over there.
Here.
Okay, thank you. And Bob's here. Fantastic. And of course, Sarah's there. Fantastic. Thanks for everybody to be in on this meeting today. Let's see, let's move on to the approval of the meeting agenda. Are there any calls for amendments? Well, I have an amendment that I would like to make. First thing I would do would be to add, I believe it, the way that this should go, Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong, is I want to add an item to the reports on a regular basis. And the item that I would like to add to the report, so I guess what I would like amendment on is amending the reports to add a report, not necessarily this week, but at our next meeting and going forward, would be a report from our Ocean Shores City Council liaison, and in this case, Councilperson Peterson. So let's see, with that as an amendment, can I hear a second to make that occur?
Second that. Mike will second it.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Any discussion on it? Anybody have questions or anything? I'll just say that. Oh,
I do.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bob.
What do you want me to report upon?
Well, what I see is just any council activities, between the previous meeting and the current meeting that are impacting to the radio board. I know it doesn't happen very often, but there are budget issues, or not issues, but budget points, items such as the updates to our bylaws, that's been accepted or approved, those kinds of things. I know it's not going to be a very busy report, or probably wouldn't be, but I just like to make that part of the regular meetings, just in case something interesting came up that we can respond. Okay. Well, that's the end of my point on discussion. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay, well, let's vote on the acceptance of adding for this meeting an Ocean Shores City Council liaison report. And then under new business, we'll have a separate vote for making it a regular item on the schedule. So those in favor of accepting the motion
Aye.
at this
Aye.
meeting?
Aye.
Great, thank you all. We have a majority, I believe. There were no yet nays.
Sounds unanimous to me.
It does. Thank you. Okay, great. Okay, so with that in mind, are there any other changes envisioned for the minutes of the past meeting, of this meeting? Not the minutes, I'm sorry, the meeting agenda. Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. And so the approval of the minutes.
Marty, did you get a vote on approving the agenda as amended?
Oh, that's true. I guess I just got the vote on the addition, not on the, okay. So we'd like to have a vote on the amended agenda and acceptability to the radio board. So those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, hearing no one opposed, then we will believe that the minutes have been approved as amended. Any public communications?
Okay, I need to backtrack for a second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We just did approval of the meeting agenda. You need a second.
Oh,
Approval of the meeting agenda as amended. You're the first. You need a second.
okay. All right, I'm sorry. I'm half fuzzy.
So
I'll
Michael seconds.
I'll second it.
Take
Okay.
a vote on that.
Okay, great. Now let's take a vote on accepting the approval of the meeting agenda as presented and modified.
Aye.
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 Okay, we have another unanimous passage. Thank you.
Okay, and then the meeting minutes, first and second, and vote.
Okay. So approval of the meeting minutes from the previous one. That's where we are, right, Sarah?
Right.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as written.
I'll
I
second that.
We have a second from Daryl. Thank you. Any discussion on that? Okay, hearing none, then let's have a quick vote on acceptance of the minutes from the previous meeting.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, another unanimous passage of the acceptance of the minutes. Thank you. Approval and acceptance. All right, I think we're at a point now where we can move down to public communications.
Okay, it looks like we have one person on the line, and that is Don Williams. Don, do you have a public comment?
Nothing here. Thank you. Good morning.
Okay,
Good morning, Don. Thank you.
that would conclude public comment.
Okay. All right, thank you. Well, let's move on to reports. I just very brief, just want to say thank you again to Jackie and Sarah in particular, but also for all of the board members and their contributions in the modifications that were submitted to the city council for our bylaws. And appreciate everybody's efforts on that. I attended it's a local area emergency communications committee meeting. And let me get my notes real quick. This included representatives from Alpha Media in Grays Harbor, the Department of Emergency Management for Grays Harbor, that's Hannah Cleverly or Cleverly, Grays Harbor County Emergency Communications Supervisor, James Cost. Actually, he was absent for that meeting. The Pacific County Department of Emergency Management, the manager is Scott McDougall, and he was involved with the meeting, as well as Arthur Greenbaum from over at KGHI, our nemesis across the bay, and myself and Scott Sipe, who's also from Alpha Media. And basically, we talked more about the improving the communications within the both Grays Harbor and Pacific County for emergency purposes, such as the tornado warning that we had up just north of here earlier in the week, and talked also about our relationship with the state network and how efforts are being put forth to link us in more tightly. So we have additional methods of being able to receive emergency communications from the state and other nearby counties. So there is a lot of change going on in the emergency alert world, but it's slow. And but I think that's purposeful. because these are important matters that need to be well thought through. So that is,
Hey, Marty,
yes,
did we ever get a warning from the tornado through the EAS system?
I didn't check to see.
I never heard one. And the only time I heard anything about it was when I turned the TV on.
Yeah, I'll check the log to see if there was. It may have, oddly enough, it was coded to Mason County, I think, and Jefferson County, or not Mason, that's too low. Clallam County and Jefferson County, and not specifically Grays Harbor. So we were one of these borderline incidents where, you know, if the winds had pushed it to the south, it could have become a hazard here. But for whatever reason, it was more focused, I think, because of Forks they were worried about more than anything else. So that could be. Bob, go ahead, please.
Yeah, our emergency radio went off on it, so we heard
Yeah.
about it. But it was tracking. It kind of gave you which way it was tracking, and
Yeah,
it didn't really say it was going to hit us. So there
right.
you go.
I think that's the case. Yeah.
I didn't even see it come across the National Weather Service as an alert on, on the page.
Oh, well, that could be. I don't follow their page, but I know our alerts at home did go off. I wasn't here at the time, but my wife said the two radios we have both went off. But I have it pretty open for what counties it triggers off of. And if you only had it set for Grays Harbor, probably would not have actually received the alert.
I don't get reception from my radio here, so
Yeah, that can be a challenge too.
it doesn't work.
Let's see. I think we can move on to Trey's not here. Butch, do you have any?
Trey's here. Trey's right
he
there.
is? Oh, there we are. Hi, Trey. Welcome. Sorry, I missed you on the lineup earlier. Could you give us a little report on the treasurer situation as a designee? Hello, Trey. Do you copy, Trey? I'm not sure if he's looking something up online or just getting dialed in. He may not have his audio working properly.
Oh, you can tell by the camera angle, he's a radio guy.
Yeah. Here, maybe I can give him a quick call.
He's at the station in there.
Yeah, I'll just call him on his cell phone. Wow. Hello? Oh, there we go. He's probably not going to pick up. Trey, can you hear us? We can't hear you. Well, obviously he's speaking. I'll go ahead and bail out of the call. Trey, do you have your cell phone? Oh, okay. Something about calling the station. Okay.
the problem is. I can hear it through the microphone here.
Yeah, we can't hear you though. At least I can't hear you. So, okay.
I don't understand. I've got the mics up full blast.
Okay, well, regardless, we've got you now. I think everybody hear Trey okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Fine business. Yeah, could you give us your treasurer's report?
All right. That's weird. I'm hearing it.
Now he's muted. And you are too, Marty.
Oh, okay, there we go. All right, go ahead, Trey.
Why am I muted?
No, mute your just go ahead. We'll try to minimize the echo.
All right. Let me turn off the mic here. Well, let's see. Looking at the report, we've got $42.40 in the checking account. I paid down the Visa. We got some underwriting in our PayPal account, and we've got a lot of money in petty cash because one of our underwriters just paid in cash, and rather than put it in the bank, I put it into petty cash. Our income for February was $930, and that was solely of underwriting. Didn't have that many expenses, and so doing fine with money right now.
Okay, Sarah, how do you feel about the propriety of having a contribution go straight into petty cash as opposed to being deposited and then withdrawn? And I feel like we need to have it go through the system rather than just a quick pass over. What's your sense?
Yeah, that would be the appropriate way to handle it, is that it would be put into an account and then taken out, and notated as X amount for petty cash.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, it all gets noted. It was logged in as a contribution and all that, but just it's so difficult sometimes for us to get petty cash out. It just seemed like a quicker way to get it in.
Well, it's definitely a quicker way, but I think from the standpoint of proper tracking, it's not the appropriate way. So how do you want to handle it in this instance, Sarah?
Well, I think whatever was given as cash for underwriting should be put in the checking, and then a certain amount is withdrawn that goes into petty cash if need be.
Okay. Okay, well, let's do that. Let's just kind of reverse the process that you've already done, Trey, on that part and get that into a deposit. And then we'll cut another check for now until we get completely switched over to the other system.
I got a question. Sarah, how do we get petty cash once we switch over?
You'll put in a request with the city, and the city will provide you the petty cash.
Okay, I'm just curious. I didn't know how it worked.
The various departments also have petty cash, and there's a set amount, and we'll have to work that through, but there's a set amount, and then you have to track it. And then if you need more, you have to submit for additional funds. And that'll be in the write-up that I do for everybody when council finally approves the line items.
Does the city use procurement cards?
Like what, credit cards?
Well, they call it a credit card, but businesses use it as a procurement card. It's almost the same thing, but it has limits on it.
Yeah, I mean, every department,
What?
well, not every department head, but majority of department heads have a credit card with a limit on it.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
That's easier than purchase orders all the time, right?
Right.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate the clarifications all the way around. Okay, thanks, Trey. If you'll take care of that, that would be fantastic. Let's move on to station report. you want to give Trey a minute to rest his vocal cords? Butch, do you want to
Actually,
go?
Trey doesn't have a report.
Oh, okay. We'll pass it over to Butch.
I don't have a very big one.
Okay.
I decided we aren't going to build our stage. We're going to use the convention centers. Because I really wanted to build one so we could mount our tent to the stage itself, so we didn't have all the guide wires and all that, but I'm not sure. But the time I got done drawing it up and looking at what we had to do, the things were pretty heavy and pretty complicated to put together. So I said, screw it, we're just going to use convention centers. I okayed that with Diane. That's all good to go. Our first event, I know we're going to talk about events later, but this one coming up in 2 weeks is our first event. We're going to be doing, or have been invited to provide music for the vendor fair that's coming up here April 9th, 10th, and 11th. So we're going to be doing that. And then I have one question about phase 3. Now that we're in phase 3, can we bring guests into the studio, at least one guest for interviewing?
Well, I think let's bring that up under the discussion on line item 8.
Okay, that's fine. Then I'm done.
Hey, you know what? Bob, I shortchanged you. I added you to the reports, and then I skipped you. Maybe you've already stated what you wish to state, but do you have anything for us as we back up one step? I'm sorry.
Well, we talked last night about some changes for depositing money with you guys for your account. Sarah helped me with this. It sounds like instead of taking money directly from your, I'm going to use the word sponsors, although I know that's the wrong word, that it goes now to the city, and the city then sends it out to you. And it's a change in your bylaws or something that's happened? That was discussed last.
The way that the departments are ran, so all money will go in and out of the city. Every penny cent, everything will go in and out. However, that was the conversation at council last night, that nothing can change until these line items have been approved by city council. So as it stands, you're still doing business as usual, because we don't have places, revenues and expenses to take that money in and out of and, you know, justify where it's all going, because there's just the one expense code for you guys. So up until that point, and this is what I was going to say down here, I was hoping I was going to say good news, and I'm sending you all of the things and how to do it, but good news will be in a couple weeks. But anyway, so as it stands right now, you're just doing it the same way you've been doing it until we're not anymore.
Hey, Marty, that answers my question.
Okay.
Yeah, what we talked about yesterday.
Right. Okay.
Could I add that it does sound like, I mean, sitting here thinking about what you've been talking about and that conversation last night, linking the two, it does sound like it would be pretty arduous to get money out as you needed it. So it seems to me like there should be a debit card attached to the account to make it more functional for you. That's just my idea.
I think that's the intention, Bob. As Sarah mentioned, some of the other departments certainly operate with that type of a card approach, and that would definitely simplify things. So thank you. I appreciate that. And you know, if we get to a point where we need a little pressure to get things happening when we get into the actual new settings, we'll lean on you a little.
Yeah, you can just have me keep the debit card.
Oh, there you go.
That's not a good idea.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Bob?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Well,
And
I got a question.
Butch,
If
go
we
ahead.
do get a card, is it only going to be one person can use it, or can Trey and I be able to use it? Because when last time we got a credit card, only the board member could use it and we couldn't. So it kind of really strapped us.
That's a good question.
And
Angie
those
I
could
guess
pay
that's
that.
that I
questions
would
for
look
you.
into with Angie, who's our purchasing Jenny, who's our purchasing coordinator, does all card procurements for each department head. So I will have to find out how that would best work. If you have to have individual ones, which I would be hard pressed to think they'd give out individual ones, but we'll definitely work out those details.
Sure. It's called the
Yeah,
manager.
I just don't want, yeah, we got one card. I just want to make sure that Trey and I can use it.
So it might be
Otherwise, we gotta
a signature
board
page
member
or
to go
something
somewhere
like
to do
that that
something.
needs to be done, but we'll definitely work through that.
Oh, how's it going?
Okay.
Yeah, I think that can be accomplished without too much trouble. Excellent. Okay,
Thank you.
The dog will be inside.
thank you. Onto the technology report. Still working on the microwave. I've had some computer problems and I wasn't able to get it handshaking, but I'm close. Also, in the past, we've had a problem with Windows restarting itself and then not allowing Zara to self-start because it goes in through the Windows logon. Well, I found we haven't implemented it yet, and I'm doing some more research on this. One of the avenues that I had been pursuing was there are some modifications within Windows 10 to, at least in theory, allow it to hold off on doing Windows updates. But it turns out it is fraught with error and it is a very cumbersome method. And it doesn't sound like it's going to have much hope for us with our version of Windows that we have, Windows 10. There's another method that I've come across where you can bypass the logon screen so that the machine will do its update, it'll stop Zara and everything else, and then it does a reboot. But when it reboots, it doesn't just come up and wait for something. It actually will bypass the logon screen and go into any of the self-startup programs that we have listed. So we can have it start Zara, we can have it start Butt, all that kind of stuff. So that's going to be our next experiment with overcoming the shortcomings of Windows 10 with modern automation systems. It's not just Zara problem or KOSW. This has been exchanged by many, many different avenues of concern. Let's see. I just got a text from Gina Rawlings saying that she can't get into the meeting. I'm routed to the agenda. Cancellation. I'm not able to do anything else.
I got it.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. All right, well, we'll continue moving on. Also working on the configuration of having Zara do more as far as controlling the emergency alert system so that we can more easily program when we want the emergency alerts to occur. And likewise, when I get the microwave link set up, we'll be able to get the RBDS display to track not only artist and title type information, but I know Butch is very interested in being able to interface with it to send out specific messages about the upcoming Sawdust Festival or the Vendors Fair, or we're going to be at the ice cream shop next Monday, or whatever we want to do. We can actually have display on radios that have the decoder systems built in. Anybody have questions about that? Fantastic. Okay. And Daryl, your RDS is working in your car now, right? Great. Cool. Excellent. Okay. We don't have anything slated under old business, so we'll move on to new business. The FCC license renewal. I'll keep this brief.
Hey, Marty, before you go on, I was muted. I couldn't take it off.
Yeah.
On a question on your microwave system.
Yeah.
What are you going to use that for?
Well, what that does, it's replacing the wire line that we have between the studio and the transmitter.
Okay.
And it does two things. Right now, the wire line is just set up to send the left and right audio channels over to the transmitter. But on the microwave system, it's going to be basically an internet bridge that will take the stream content, in essence, and put it onto the air that will include the RDS artist title information and other controls that we can plug in there. And there's some other features. It'll actually ultimately give us an internet port at the transmitter, and that's important nowadays. So for being able to monitor the transmitter more closely, things like that. So that's part of the advantage.
Can you make transmitter adjustments to the microwave system then?
Not with the transmitter that we have. We have an older
Okay.
model that does not have its own IP interface. It's just a cold push button type arrangement. If in the future, we'll plan for a transmitter that's more friendly to connectivity, because once we have that, the world opens up in many ways to be able to additional monitoring and other features, as well as adjusting power and things. So yeah, that's
Do you have
fantastic.
a timeline on that?
No, I'm not willing to put down a timeline yet. Sorry.
All right, I'm just saying they keep driving over our cable and it's getting pretty flat.
I know. So on to the license renewal. So just so you have an overall perspective, in the United States, broadcast stations are licensed usually for 8 years. And our license is slated to expire on February 2nd of 2022. So, and almost all of the stations in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, I think Montana and California all fall under this license renewal cycle. The actual license renewal cycle started in 2019, generally on the East Coast, but they ripple it out across the country over the years so that the FCC doesn't get flooded by, 12,000 applications at once. They only have to deal with 1,000 or 2,000 applications at a time. So, but ours is scheduled to expire this coming February. And in accordance with those rules, the earliest filing date that we can file for the new license is Monday, August 2nd of this year. And the latest filing date that we have to have it in by is October 5th of this year. Normally, it would have been October 2nd because it's relative to the date of your license expiring. But October 2nd is on a Saturday, so it will inure to the following Monday, business day. But we'll make it. I'm going to have the application all ready to go and have it filed right in the very beginning of August. And I've already started the preliminary processing at the FCC. And there used to be a rule that required that you, for several months before your license is being renewed, that you had to notify the listening public that you were going to be filing a renewal. Well, somehow through the FCC and their vision of managing business under COVID-19, they eliminated that rule. So there's no more what's called pre-filing announcements. I guess it was just too much paperwork, and they figured the outcome these days with modern accessibility to the FCC's systems that they didn't need to do that anymore. So fortunately, we don't have to mess around with any of the earlier filings that would have gone on. However, we do have to do what's called post-filing announcements. And those will be coming up after we have filed, let's see, after we have filed the actual application for renewal. Then we send out these over the air. We announce once on Mondays and once on Thursdays, sometime randomly between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. for 4 weeks following the actual application date. And there's an announcement script that basically says, KOSW LP is licensed by the FCC for Ocean Shores. We're committed to this, that, and the other thing. And if you have any comments towards the renewal process, either a petition to deny, which is a possibility, or informal objections of any kind to the renewal, and positive comments can be submitted on by listeners who want to bolster the position of the station. So basically what we'll do is we have an announcement that says, we filed. If you have any issues with the filing, here's where you go. There's a FCC, it's called the Licensing Management System, LMS, and it allows individuals to submit, manage, and track FCC applications and notifications. And so all you have to do if you wanted to go and look at the system, just do an internet search for FCC LMS, and it'll take you right to their search engine for the LMS website. But it's real easy for people who want to file comments, and in the past, it's been a super burden for a lot of folks, but this is much smoother. Low power FMs are one of the only exempt groups from having to do online public file records, which include things like public service to the community, how much of it you're doing, special needs of the community, how the station is supporting those special needs. The FCC elected when the commissioners voted, they elected to not include that for low power FMs. So that's a big burden that we don't have to carry during this license renewal period. Might change in the future, but that's where we are right now. So that's kind of the thumbnail sketch. Anybody have any questions about how it? Go ahead, Bob.
Has anybody ever filed in the past to take this frequency?
Not that I'm aware of. There have been no objections to the 1 or 2 license renewals. I think we've only gone through 1 license renewal cycle. So this will probably be our second. But unless you're doing something really egregious, I mean, it would take some pretty bad stuff before the commission would yank a license. You have to be really fooling around, not doing what we're doing. We're a very clean operation. And Bob, I don't know if you know, one of the things that I do in some of my post professional broadcaster activities is I actually do FCC inspections around the state for the FCC because they don't have field people anymore. And these are the areas that we focus on. So we're in really good shape. We've got a couple of little things that we're working to tie up, but otherwise we're in great shape. But it was very common for commercial stations to get filed against by social interest groups, particularly religious groups. A lot of them have a lot of bones to pick with some of the commercial broadcasters. So they get some pretty horrendous accusations that get floated during license renewal, it seems. But we don't even have to participate in that aspect of it. So that's cool. Anybody else question? No?
We're pretty lucky. We got the sheriff working with us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, being a public entity as a licensee makes it a cleaner process in some ways. So that's great. Let's move on to the KOSW on-air event participation. Butch, you want to address that a little deeper?
Yeah, this summer, as it looks now on the calendar, it's going to be pretty darn full. The convention center is booked every single weekend all the way through summer. And we are probably been invited to participate in the Sand and Sawdust, in the Hog Wild, in the Superhero. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get involved with the Hawk Days and with the ASOS Arts and Crafts Fair Festival of Labor Day.
Wow.
And right now, we don't have no 35 volunteers working for us anymore. We have about 16. That includes most of the board. So I'm asking, be prepared if you don't get a phone call or email from Butch asking if you want to come down and help out with some of these events. At least being as a board member, you can participate at the tent and, you know, and talk to people that come by and things like that and help set up and tear down. We're going to need all that. I don't expect you to come and play music for 3 or 4 hours, but, you know, to drop in and out and help clean up, break down, that kind of stuff. So be prepared to hear from me. Okay.
Well, that's great. I think that's really appropriate. Thank you.
That's just want to be aware of it. That's basically it.
Can I ask a question?
Who would they
Sure.
contact to volunteer?
It'd be me.
At the station, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just send me an email if you want to volunteer.
I'm just thinking about when I report next time to the council, how to get this out to the number of people that, you know, that are listening.
You mean as far as promoting the events or?
No, getting volunteers. You know, like who would like, you need volunteers this summer. If you would like to volunteer, get involved, who do you contact? That sort of thing.
Yeah, that would be me.
Okay.
If you want to be involved helping with the radio station, yes, it'd be me. If you want to help with the event, that would probably be Diane.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so that would go out to that would be something that the council would bring up as a kind of a public announcement of sorts.
I know
Right.
at Superheroes, June's going to need a lot of volunteers. She always does. Last year last one we had 2 years ago, I provided like over 30 volunteers. But we had a big volunteer at the radio station, plus they brought their friends in, and I gave away free KOSW t-shirts to volunteers who came here, and we had more than we needed, actually. It was great. It went off great.
Great. Okay, let's see. Jackie, trying to comment. Oh, there we go. Unmuted. Go ahead, Jackie.
We had, like Butch was saying, we used to have a whole lot of volunteers. With the COVID, we lost a lot. So I'm wondering, are we going to try to regroup a formalized version of a volunteer group, or are we just going to play volunteer catch as catch can?
Well, I think during any event except Superheroes, the city runs those Sand and Sawdust. They ran the Hog Days. Those events mainly will be volunteered through the convention center, through Diana, whoever's putting it on to the city. The one big one we had 2 years ago with the Superhero, that is not put on by the city. That was put on by June, and that's when we used all the volunteers for that one. But normally on these other ones, I just need some help setting up getting ready for it, you know, the tent and all the stuff that we do. And then when we tear down, also during the event, come and hang out for an hour or two at the tent, basically just to show presence at KOSW to promote our station. We don't need a ton of volunteers. Sand and Sawdust, we're going to be the first 2 days are going to be on the beach. We're going to be getting Tom's trailer down there. We're going to set up the PA system down there. We're going to be playing music and doing announcements for the sand carving contest that's going on. And then Sunday we'll be moving back up to the parking lot at the convention center.
What's the date on that, Butch?
Sand and Sawdust, I think is hang on. That's May. Hang on. It's the 25th, 26th, and 27th of June.
Oh, of June. Okay, not May, June.
Of June, yeah.
Okay, cool. Great. Okay.
Hope it don't
Uh,
rain.
Huh? Say again, Butch?
I said, I hope it
Oh,
doesn't rain.
yeah.
We're going to be. I said, I hope it doesn't rain.
Right.
Doesn't rain in June here. You
Always a
know
chance.
that.
No,
Okay, anything further to add? No? Okay. Let's move on to the opening up of the studios, at which obviously Jackie kind of knocked on the door there. What's the mood, Sarah, at the city as far as guidance on being able to have more folks in the studio zone itself?
Before we move on to that, you did amend the agenda to add a new business topic on having a council liaison report at
Oh.
every meeting. So if you
Okay.
could do that one first.
Okay, gotcha. Could I have someone make a motion to add the Ocean Shores City Council liaison report as a regular recurring item under our reports in our agendas?
I would like to move that we meet put the city council member report as a regular item on our agenda.
Okay, could I hear a second?
Rosanna, second.
Thank you, Rosanna. And discussion? I think we had our discussion previously anyway. It pretty well described everything. Okay. I believe we're ready for a vote on acceptance of the motion. So those in favor, please say aye.
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 Looks like we have another unanimous passage of that. Thank you, and thank you, Sarah, for catching that. With that hopefully being satisfied, what's the timing on the city council for having in-person meetings?
I don't have a timeline per se. I have been tasked with finding out how a hybrid or a full-on council meeting with remote options would work. And I've looked at it over time because we've kind of gotten this whiplash with, hey, we're moving forward. Just kidding, we're coming back. So I've looked into it multiple times, and this time has been where I've really had to make a plan. So we're going to be testing all of that stuff next week. But then again, it's still very much up to the council on when they're ready to go. It would be their decision with the mayor. So we're in the beginning phases of how that would look. I am going to hopefully go to the convention center next week and do a ton of testing on how to get everybody on camera, still have Zoom, still have live stream and everything like that. So we're really at the beginning phases, because we had more, when we had the phase structure before, it was very clear, and this is how many people you could have in a building, and which it still has the same kind of platform, but there's like a lot of things now that we've made available that we have to try and continue to make available. So that's my roundabout way of saying I have absolutely no idea at this moment in time. Maybe Bob can speak from a council member's point of view. I know the goal is ultimately to get everybody back, to a new normal. But again, from my standpoint, I'm just in the starting phases of that.
Okay, well, I'm wondering if we should defer this topic for another month to give both the council more time to chew on that. And
I'm only
I see a question from Butch.
I'm only asking if we can have one guest come in if they want to come in. Other than that, we'll either Zoom them or on the phone like we always do. I'm not talking putting a lot of people in the studio. We have a big sneeze guard up there now to protect, that divides what the guest would be speaking and where the host is, or the DJ is talking from. I'm only talking about one person. We're not talking about a group of people ever coming in there. And I don't even know how many people even want to come in now. A lot of them still like to just phone in. It's a lot easier. We have maybe a couple down the road here of programs where we might want a co-host with the host, sort of like we did with Wazoo Nation with Gerald and Frank. We just want to know if that is possible. We're not talking about bringing in a lot of people here. Just one.
I
And
mean,
since we're,
under the current guidelines, that's completely acceptable. I will defer the question to the mayor, and I will get back to the board as a whole on her response.
okay,
Okay.
great,
Perfect.
thanks.
Who's our public safety officer?
Like for the city?
Pardon me?
Like for the city?
Yeah, that would be Mike, right? Tyree?
Like, yeah, him and Nikki both.
Yeah, I would think that they would be able to, that particularly Mike would be able to determine whether or not it's safe or not.
Well, I can include him in the email, but I will absolutely still defer it to the mayor's discretion. So.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, any further questions? Jackie, is this adequate for you? Filling in the gap that you had questions about?
The gap of which gap? I have lots of gaps in my life.
Oh, well, I thought the inference was that as far as opening up the studios for,
Oh, future plans. The
Yeah,
future plans gap.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I think we're getting there. Obviously, we have to have the approval of the council and the mayor. So that's definitely the first step. I was just wondering, and it also sounds like Butch was alluding to the future use of volunteers. So yeah, that kind of helps too.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Do we have to actually, I don't think we have to wait for council. I think we just, since it was the mayor who had kind of put the brakes on having more than an individual in the on-air studio at a time. I don't know if we have to go through the council, but regardless.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying not to leave anybody out and be safe.
Right, I understand. Well, good, okay. All
Thank
right,
you.
well, I think we're all on the same page. Good. Okay, any other discussion on that?
Well, one more thing. I need to know how long, we have to get into phase 4 before we can start training anybody, because that's a one-on-one right next to each other, and it's not just a 1 hour session. It's going to be many hour sessions.
Well,
time. So that's why I've been holding off on that.
We might be able to look at the opportunity if we have enough people that have their vaccination cards completed and the post-vaccination period has passed for them, that if the parties are mutually acceptable with the situation, that continue to wear masks, but we could have a couple of people in the same room once they're inoculated and carry on those. So that's something to think about. But
I have one person right now, Louis Marks, who has been podcasting his Smooth Beach Jazz every Sunday afternoon from 4 to 6. And he's always wanted to come in on the station and do it live. And he's already filled out his volunteer papers, his background, all that's been done on this guy. But the COVID hit and I couldn't bring him in to train him. So he's been doing it all from home, recording it and doing it like a podcast. I told him whenever we were able to bring him in for training, I would bring him in for training. That's why I asked that one question.
Sure. Okay, well, we'll wait until we hear from the mayor and then we'll pull the trigger on that. That'd be great. Sounds like one of the first individuals to get in there for his show. Okay. And then we have Sarah, you want to give us our financial update from the city's perspective?
Well, no, I wanted to, if it was passed. That was why I asked for this to be on there, because I kind of wanted to do a overview of how it was going to look and what direction we needed to take. And that is all a moot point for the next 3 weeks. So I will I will ask to go on the next one. But even so, because the next council meeting, if they do approve it, is on April 12th, and you guys won't have a meeting until further down the road in April, I will send out a pretty lengthy email to the entire board and station managers of everything. So then if you have any questions or anything like that, you can absolutely email back, or we can go over them all at the next meeting.
Excellent. Okay. Do we have any other items? Let's see, future agenda items? Don't hear anything other than the follow-ups on what we've got. So I believe we're at a point where we can ask for a motion to adjourn.
Before we do that, I'd like to say something. Thank you, Sarah, for all you do. You are a champ here.
Yes.
Okay,
You're welcome.
now I'd like to
Yep.
make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Yeah. Thank you again. It's obviously it helps me, keeps me on track and straight with the requirements. And if anybody needs it, I need it. So thank you for that, Michael. That was great. We definitely want to again appreciate show our appreciation for Sarah. So motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Don't think we have to actually vote.